Good day, students. So this is example 3 for week 7, and we're going to be doing revolves, or actually it's only one revolve feature, but we're moving into the revolve feature of NX. So this is a chess piece called a pawn, and it might look like a quite daunting task to create all of these curves and extrude them inside NX, but it's actually quite easy if you use the revolve feature. So essentially revolve is by taking a sketch feature and then extruding it about some point and around some vector or axis. So for this model, only half of the sketch was drawn, and then it was revolved about the z-axis or around the z-axis about that sketch origin point. So once again, it's important to note the position and direction of your sketch origin, as this will influence your center of mass that you need to enter. So you'll see that the z-axis is pointing upwards, y is into the paper if you look at the front sketch, and then you'll see x is at the right, and also you'll see it's at the bottom of the model of the chess piece, so at the bottom in the middle. So if you have the sketch and NX open next to each other, it's quite easy because for the revolve we're only going to create the outlines. So none of these lines, not that one, that one, that one. So you're only going to create the outlines and then a line there to close the curve, and then you revolve it. So I'm going to show you how to do that, but if you have NX open next to the technical drawing, it's easy to use the profile feature, but for explanation purposes I'm going to do each of the lines separately to explain how they are created. So firstly, it's a line of 13 millimeters long, so it's that line. So we're only going to create this left half of the sketch. Then we have a vertical line going upwards, and if you look at the detailed view, it's 3 millimeters high. So another line from there 3 millimeters upwards. Okay, and then we have a chamfer of 1.4 high and at 45 degrees. So I'm just going to create some other angular line. Not going to specify the length, only the angle. And then I'm going to use the wrapper dimension to specify this vertical height as 1.4 millimeters. And then we have that feature. So we're not going to include that line. It's not an outline and it's not required. It's only a line which is constructed once you revolve the feature. So next up is this curve of radius 6. So I'm going to create an arc by 3 points from this point to somewhere here, radius 6 millimeters. And to constrain that curve, we have this dimension 9 millimeters. So that point, which is also that point, to there is 9 millimeters. So from my wrapper dimension from there to there it will be 9 millimeters. And then also we have you see that I'll just go and create that dimension a bit more clear, because it's a bit confusing with that line also there. But you'll see from that line to that line, which is at that point, and it's also that point, is 10 millimeters. So I'm going to create a horizontal dimension from that point to the z-axis, and that is 10 millimeters. Okay, so now we have that curves. So next up is a vertical line of 1 millimeter. So I'm going to go back to lines, 1 millimeter in the vertical direction, and then we have a curve of radius 2, and that point is 8 millimeters from the z-axis. So I'm once again going to use my arc by 3 points, somewhere there, radius 2. I'm going to specify it there, and then you'll see that the sketch needs 2 constraints. So the first constraint is that dimension. So from there to there, that's 8 millimeters. Okay, now the sketch needs one more constraint, and you'll see that those two have a geometric constraint. So this line and this line, just select them, they are tangent to each other. You'll see that from the sketch there, and then we have a fully constrained sketch. Okay, so the next feature that we need to add is this large curve here. It has a radius of 50, it's 25 millimeters high. So creating this arc, from there I'm going to go upwards, going to specify a radius of 50, and it's going to be curving like that. Okay, then I need to specify the height, so that's a wrapper dimension from this point to this point, and that needs to be 25. And then you'll see that the sketch needs one constraint, so that constraint is that 7.5, so it's from that point to the z-axis is 7.5 millimeters. So once again, a wrapper dimension from this point to the z-axis is 7.5. Okay, and then we have a fully constrained sketch. So now it's quite easy. The last part, we have once again a curve of 3 millimeters high, radius 2 and 16 from there to there, meaning that from that point to this point needs to be 8. So I'm once again going to create an arc by 3 points. From this point somewhere there, the radius is 2 millimeters. Let me just specify it correctly. Okay. So let's try again, 2 millimeters, and I'm just going to specify it like that. So now you'll see we can create the horizontal or the vertical dimension. So from there to there is 3 millimeters. So that's 3. And you'll see the sketch needs one constraint. That's because this point isn't constrained yet. So we will just specify that dimension of 8 millimeters. So let me see, NX is not working with me at the moment. Let me see if I create this one, if it's in the correct position. So that's not what we want. It created a circle, the larger arc, but we want the smaller one. So I'm just going to delete that and try again. So somewhere from there to there with a radius of 2 millimeters. Okay, so it did not create. It's not 2 millimeters at the, or it's not constrained at a certain radius at the moment. So let's just delete that. Do it again. So 2 millimeters. Okay, let's create that. So there we have 2 millimeters. But you see it needs one constraint. So firstly, we're going to create that dimension. I think it's going to give me an over constraint. Okay, yeah, so conflicting constraint, and that's because of this geometric constraint that it added a tangent constraint, so I'm just going to delete that one. Okay, so we have that, and then we also know that that point is 8 millimeters from the z-axis, so I'm going to create that dimension from there to that axis is 8. Okay, and there we have it. So it's that curve. You'll see it's the same. Sketch is fully constrained. And then lastly, we have a circle of diameter 20. So what I'm going to do here is, once again, I'm going to create an arc by 3 points. There's not a fillet. There's different ways of doing this. You can either create an arc by 3 points, an arc by a center point. You can also just create a circle and then trim it. But I'm going to try use the arc by 3 points. So from that point, then we'll move up. So let's just select this. And then we'll go up there. And our radius is 10 because our diameter is 20. Okay, so now you'll see it's not correct at the moment. It needs two constraints. So the first constraint is that this point and this point needs to be vertically aligned. And then you'll see that this point can still move up and down. Now what's going to give us that dimension is the dimension from this point upwards. So actually here is a dimension missing. So I'm just going to give you the code word quickly. The code word is mouse. So we need this dimension from that point to the bottom. It's not specified in here, so I'm just quickly going to look at what that needs to be. Apologies for this. So I'll just add this. I'll add that dimension, and then I'll also just make that dimension a bit more neat so that you can see where the arrow is showing. So I'm just going to open the model that I've created, and I'm going to add a wrapper dimension from that point to the sketch origin. Let's make it so the vertical dimension, and that's 60.4. Okay, so I'll just add that to the sketch that you'll get. So let's get back to the sketch. So it's 60.4, so you'll see it constrained that point. I'm just going to create this constraint from there to there, which is 60.4. Okay. And now the last thing that you need to do to be able to revolve this sketch is to close that curve. So you'll see there's no line there, but that's this is the model's view. But we need to close this curve. So from that point all the way down to this point. So now it's an enclosed sketch. It's fully constrained. I can finish it. And now it's quite easy to create this chess piece. I'm going to use the revolve feature. My curve will be this curve. My vector, as I said, will be the z-axis. So you can either select this line, you can select the z-axis, you can select this vector notation that they give you here. So I typically just select that vector. Just make sure it's the correct vector as specified. And then my point will be the center point. So if you rotate it about this point, let's for instance see what happens. Okay, now it creates some other weird feature. So let's just reselect the point. We want that point. And then you'll see, okay, there it creates the chess piece. Clicking OK. Okay, there we have this chess piece. It's the same as this one. You'll see the sketch origin is correct. So Z upwards, Y, and X. And then it's easy. You can you'll see that from the sketch the material is tungsten. So again, menu tools, materials, assign materials to this model, and we use tungsten, and just apply that. Okay, and then for those of you that's still wondering, I'm just going to show how to measure it. So it's analysis tools, measure, right click on it, select from list, select the solid body, and it will populate you all the measurements. So that's the center of mass, and that's your mass in kilograms and your weight in newtons. Okay, so that's the example for week 7. I hope you enjoyed it and have a good week. Bye.